Hello beautiful people, welcome to the channel. The Witchy Goth here, hope you're doing well. Today's video, I've actually been wanting to cover this for a while now, I just haven't had a chance, is from a speech given by Danny Kruger, a UK MP, previously with the Conservatives, now has moved over to Reform. And this speech in the House of Commons, it was basically an empty chamber, and he is calling and urging for Christian restoration. I'm going to play this and stop it throughout. It's about 9 minutes long, so bear with me, and hopefully no adverts will pop up. They probably will, so I do apologise for that already. So let's have a listen. Let me just check that the volume is all the way up. Yes, it is.
It is an honour to stand here in this empty chamber to speak about the original purpose of this space, which was a chapel in the Church of England. The old chamber of the House of Commons, on which this space is modelled after the Great Fire of 1834, was St Stephen's Chapel, formerly a royal church, given by the heirs of Henry VIII to Parliament to serve as its debating chamber. And Madam Deputy Speaker, your chair stands on the altar steps, and the table with the dispatch boxes is where the lectern stood. And I mention this because the link between this place and the Church of England isn't merely ceremonial. The prayers we say here at the start of every day aren't just a nod to tradition. Our democracy is founded on Christian faith. And indeed, this Parliament remains the law-giving power of the Church of England.
Our democracy is founded on Christian faith. Christian faith, as with all Abrahamic religions, is patriarchal. Therefore, it is not democratic. Just an opinion.
We in this place have the responsibility to approve or disapprove the doctrine and the rules of the Church. And that is as it should be, because the Church of England is not some private club, just another eccentric denomination. The Church is a chaplain to the nation, and through the parish system, in which every square inch of England has its local church and its local priest, we are all members, we all belong, even if you never set foot in your church from one year to the next, even if you don't believe in its teachings, it is your church, and you are its member.
No, it's not my church. It's not my church at all. It is not a Jewish person's church. They will go to synagogue. It is not a Catholic person's church, because they will go to their own denomination church. He's talking about Church of England here. My church is nature. I'm pagan. I'm a witch. So most of you who do follow my channel know this already, but if there are any new viewers here, that is who I am. I have been a witch for about 30 years or so now.
And so when I speak of the Church of England today, I am not speaking about the internal politics of the Anglican sect. I speak of the common creed of our country, the official religion of the English and the British nation, and the institution which, older than the monarchy, much older than Parliament, is the institution that made this country.
Throw out your old heater and get this one instead to heat up your home for almost zero cost.
I knew there'd be an advert.
This jet-engine-inspired heater is being...
And it's no surprise that both the church and the country itself are in a bad way. Divided internally, confused, badly led. The church is riven by deep disputes over doctrine and governance, and literally leaderless, with even the process of choosing the next Archbishop of Canterbury unclear, confused and contended.
What's hilarious here is we now have a female Archbishop of Canterbury, and of course the patriarchal, misogynistic religion that is Christianity is up in arms and furious about this, because how can a woman be in charge? Interesting that he says doctrine. It's rules and regulations. And various religions have their own rules and regulations. Paganism does not, thank goodness. Paganism is what it is. There is no Bible. There is no set of laws around our practices.
And the country itself reflects this. Unclear in its doctrines and its governance. Profoundly precarious. Chronically exposed to threats from without and within. At risk economically, culturally, socially.
What is he referring to here? Constantly under threat. What do you think he's referring to here? Let me know. I think that he's referring to the Muslim faith. You know, back in the 70s, it was all about Satanism, wasn't it? How times change. In the 1600s, it was all about witchcraft, which was targeted at a group of women who were the herbalists, the healers of the village, the midwives, and the patriarchy and men decided that they didn't want women to do that, that it could only be the realm of men that dealt with medicine.
And I would say morally. But I don't...
What I find morally here, you know, morally, how many priests, vicars, reverends have been convicted of SA, of boys, or even women? Where are the morals? Who follows the morals of Christianity? Because fundamental Christian beliefs and faiths tend to be quite aggressive. And I don't think that that's what Jesus said. I don't think he wanted people to fight. I think he wanted everybody to be friends and love each other.
Speaker last month, in the space of 3 days, in one infamous week, this House authorised the killing of unborn children, 9-month-old babies, and it passed a bill to allow the killing of the elderly and disabled.
9-month-old babies. He is talking about abortion. It's a fetus. And this man is a Reform MP now. He's defected. And he is advocating for the banning of abortion rights for women. What next? Handmaid's Tale. Blessed be the fruit under his eye. I don't know about you ladies who watch my channel, but I don't want to go down that route. I mean, I'm far too old, you know, to have an abortion. I am postmenopausal, but I don't want to see the generations come after me being ruled by men, being treated as second-class citizens again. We need to wake up to this. We need to start fighting this, ladies, because if we don't, we will end up back where we started 100 years ago.
And I describe those laws in these stark terms not to provoke further controversy, but because those are the facts. We gave our consent to the greatest crime, the killing of the weak, the most defenceless human beings. It was a great sin. And if I, standing here, have any power to repent on behalf of this House, then I hereby repent of what we did. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, in the reaction to these votes, and all around us, in reaction to the state of the country and the world, something else is happening. There is a great hunger in society for a better way of living. And I want to use this opportunity to explain what that better way is, and why we here in England have the means to follow it.
I agree. People do want a better way of living. But surely that means freedom of choice.
The Jewish and the Christian God is a God of nations. He's interested in people as individuals, but also as groups, as communities, not only of kinship, though that too, but of common worship with a common God. And this nation, England, from which the United Kingdom grew, uniquely among the nations of the world, was founded, created consciously on the basis of the Bible and the story of the Hebrew people. And in that sense, England is the oldest Christian country and the prototype of nations across the West.
No, it's not. It's not, because Christianity began in Italy when the Romans went out to conquer the West and convert people from paganism to Christianity. Paganism was the original faith followed here in the United Kingdom, not Christianity. Surely we should revert back to paganism.
The story of England is the story of Christianity operating on a people to make the institutions and the culture that have been uniquely stable, uniquely successful. The Western model was forged and refined in England over 1,000 years, from the 9th to the 19th centuries. So what is that model? It's simply this: that power should arrange itself for the benefit of all the people under it, and specifically for the poorest and weakest.
Specifically for the poorest and weakest. Reform do not have any interest in the poorest and the weakest. All Reform have an interest in are the rich and wealthy, and to improve their riches, increase their wealth. They have no interest in the poor at all. In fact, I can go as far to say as, does any government have an interest in the poor? Has it shown that it has? No. Not even our current government. The poor are made the enemy. The poor are made to be the worst of the worst, but our real enemy are the rich, are the elites.
That the law is there to protect the ordinary person against the abuse of power. That
a law is there to protect the ordinary person against the abuse of power. Yeah, so, you know, again, burning witches, you know, allowing women to have abortions, allowing, you know, somebody to elect to have euthanasia so they don't have to suffer.
every individual has equal dignity and freedom.
Surely if they have the ability to self-euthanize, they have that dignity.
Including crucially the freedom of conscience, of religion and belief, making space for other religions under the Christian shield, a secular space, indeed itself a Christian concept, meaningful only in a Christian world.
No, it's not meaningful only in a Christian world. The whole world is not Christian. There are many other religions and beliefs in the world. And it is just terrifying because this is going back to the Crusades. This is going back to that same thought process of all other religions need to be wiped out.
These are ideas that only make sense if you accept that we have some intrinsic value, a value that is given to us, not of our own making or invention. And so through all these long years, from the time of Alfred to the time of Victoria, it was assumed that a nation was a community of common worship and that our community, this country, worshipped the Christian God. Then in the 20th century, another idea arose, that it is possible for a country to be neutral about God, that the public space, the public square was empty of any metaphysics, that the route to freedom lay through the desert of materialism, individual reason, no hell below us, above us only sky. That idea was wrong. And
the words of John Lennon there. Who brought in materialism? Who developed that? Capitalists. Were we any better with religion? No. Each and every person should have the right to choose their own belief, their own religion.
Horrors of the 20th century attest to that, not least in the West, where we escaped totalitarianism but have suffered our own catastrophes of social breakdown, social injustice, loneliness and emptiness on a chronic scale. And now new threats, ugly and aggressive, are arising, because we have found that in the absence of the Christian God, we do not have pluralism and tolerance, everyone being nice to each other in a godless world. Because all politics is religious, and in abandoning one religion, we simply create a space for others to move into as dominant faiths. And there are two religions moving into the space that Christianity has been ejected from. One is Islam. And in a debate yesterday, I said how much I find myself in agreement on moral and social matters with Muslim colleagues here in Parliament. But as I've been saying, this is a Christian country, if it is a country at all, and I cannot be indifferent about the extent of the growth of Islam.
I have no words, because each individual person should have the right to choose a faith or religion or belief. You cannot force a person to be a Christian. You cannot force a person to be a Muslim. You cannot force a person to be a Jew. Each person should have their own choice. By enforcing this onto people, this is fascism. This is far right-wing ideology, just the same as happened in Germany in the 1930s and 40s.
Here in recent decades. But it's the other religion that worries me even more. And this other religion is a hybrid of old and new ideas. And it doesn't have a proper name. And I don't think woke does justice to its seriousness. It is a combination of ancient paganism and Christian heresies and the cult of modernism.
Let's go and burn the witches. Pagans, we need to be very, very, very afraid of this kind of rhetoric, because this happened before. The burning times. 90,000 women and children, and some men, were burned, drowned, hanged for loving nature, for wanting to heal each other, for being kind to each other, for being woke. Jesus was woke. Jesus was the wokest of the woke, wasn't he? You know, he was going out healing people. He was telling people to love each other. From what I see of Christianity, wanting to rule the world, the Crusades, and now here happening again, possibly in the United Kingdom, we all should be very, very afraid if reform gain power, because our rights will be taken away, whether we like it or not. And I, for one, will stand up for my rights as a pagan. I will protest. And yeah, if necessary, I'll be hanged, I'll be drowned, I'll be burned.
All mashed up into a deeply mistaken, deeply dangerous ideology of power, hostile to the essential objects of our affections and our loyalties, which are families, communities, and nations.
Pagans are not hostile. We protect the environment. We love nature. We love each other. We revere the goddess and God. And I can tell you now, being a pagan for 30 odd years, there is more faith in the pagan belief system than there ever is in Christianity. There is more kindness, more caring, and it is just, this is false information. This is absolutely unequivocally false. It is not a hateful belief system at all. At all. We celebrate each cycle, each wheel as it turns, each point. We're coming up to Samhain now, to Halloween, as you all know it. And this is our new year. It is just beyond me that this, this specimen is lying in Parliament. Where is the pagan representation in Parliament?
And explicitly, most passionately, it is hostile to Christianity as the wellspring of the West.
We have never been hostile to Christianity. Christianity has been hostile to us. We accept all of the faiths and beliefs and religions. We completely accept them. Let people have whatever religion they want to. We do not go around trying to convert people to paganism. They choose to convert to paganism if they want to, but we do not go around knocking on people's door and sell Jesus.
And this religion, unlike Islam, must simply be destroyed, at least as a public doctrine. It must be banished from public life, from schools and universities, from businesses and public services. It needs to be sent back to the fringes of eccentricity, like the modern Druids who invest Stonehenge in my constituency.
Listen to what he's saying. This is inciting violence against pagans, against spiritualism. If, again, I'll say it, if Reform do get into power, this may well be one of the things that they decide to do, because they don't want people to have other thoughts, other attributes, other belief systems. They want to force people to their way of thinking. Paganism doesn't do that. You know, paganism is a broad term that we use. Not all pagans are witches, but all witches are pagans. So, not all pagans are druids, but all druids are pagans. Why aren't we allowed to follow the old ways? Why? There is nothing evil about paganism. What there is that's evil is Satanism, which is the opposite of Christianity, which is nothing to do with paganism.
The theology that is mad but harmless, because its followers are so few, and no one serious takes them seriously. Now, we can...
See, no one serious takes us seriously. Why? Why not? Because so many of the pagan beliefs are actually similar to those in Christianity. We just don't have these rules that you have to behave this way, you have to do that, you have to do this. We don't have to go to church on a Sunday because we attend our church every day. The world is our altar. The world is our church.
And no longer pretend, as they did in the 20th century, that we can be neutral or indifferent about God, that the public square is a godless desert. The fact is that the strong gods are back, and we have to choose which God to worship. And I suggest we worship the God who came in the weakest form, Jesus Christ. This God is a jealous God. It's him or nothing. And we have to own our Christian story, or we have to repudiate it. And not to own it is to repudiate it. And to repudiate Christianity is not only to sever ourselves from our past, but it is to cut off the source of all the things that we value now.
He said that this God is a jealous God. I'm not jealous. Pagans aren't jealous. Our gods aren't jealous.
And that we need in the future freedom, tolerance, individual dignity and human rights.
Freedom, tolerance, individual dignity and human rights. Freedom, the freedom of religion. Tolerance, the tolerance of other people and their religion. Dignity, allowing that person to practice their religion and belief freely. Human rights, allowing humans to have rights, because according to him, he doesn't want some humans to have rights, those that worship a different God to him.
Without the Christian God, in whose teaching these things have their source, these are inventions, mere non-existent aspirations. To worship human rights is to worship fairies.
Listen to what he's saying there. He is claiming that human rights are non-existent, that we shouldn't have human rights. This is what will happen if Reform are voted into power in 2029. We won't have human rights. They want to take us out of the ECHR. They want to abolish human rights. And a lot of the followers, the faithful to Reform, and it's a cult, it is a cult, are like, yeah, let's not have human rights, we can't have human rights, but they don't realise that that affects their own human rights. Their human rights that are tied to their salary, their holidays, their sick pay, what they can wear, you know, their wage, the age that somebody can be married. These are all things that fall within human rights. And in my opinion, any woman who supports Reform needs to really seriously think about that, because they will take away women's power.
But if we own our story, remember the real sources of our civilization, we can have these things and make them real freedom and tolerance and dignity, a culture of love, and crucially a culture of humanity, because we are in the age of the machine. And a great choice confronts us, whether to make machines in the image of fallen man, bent on exploitation and domination, with mankind in its sights, or to make them what they properly are, the servants of mankind, able to help us make a better world.
I'm going to say that this guy's a heretic, because he is just spouting absolute drivel here. And, you know, he talks about love and freedom, and yet that's not what he wants. This is the juxtaposition, the hypocrisy of Christianity. I've seen it many, many times. And, you know, that a Christian person will think they're right, that no other religion is right, they're the right one. We don't know what happens after we die. We don't know. You know, we don't know what's on the other side. If there even is another side. I believe that there is. I don't believe in heaven. I don't believe in hell. I believe in my own Summerland, we call it, where when we pass over, we move into a space where we are with our loved ones again. But there is no hell, because Satan is a construct of Christianity.
So, Madam Deputy Speaker, to conclude, a wind is blowing and a storm is coming, and when it hits, we are going to learn if our house is built on rock or on sand. But we have been here before. The reformers of the 11th and the 16th centuries, the Puritans in the 17th century, the evangelicals in the 19th century, all brought this country back from the edge.
See, he mentioned the witch trials. He mentioned the witch trials that were eradicated by men. And there's a whole story in that and how that worked and relates to the Malleus Maleficarum. And I will do a video on that at some stage in the future, because I do want to do a witchcraft, a series on witchcraft. But yeah, he wants to go back to that and stamp out any religion or belief that is not what he wants.
From idolatry or error or just plain indifference. And from all the social and political crises that indifference to Christianity brought about. And they each, in their generation, restored this country to itself. And a new restoration is needed now. A revival of the faith, a recovery of Christian politics, a refounding of this nation on the teaching that Alfred made the basis of the common law of England all those centuries ago. This is a mission for the church, under its next leader, whoever that is. It's a mission for this place, this old chapel, which became the wellspring of Western democracy, and for us, its members. And it's a mission for our whole country, the route to a prosperous modernity, founded on respect for human dignity, responsibility for the created world, and the worship of God.
Let me know what you think, guys, in the comments below. I'm not going to talk anymore because this is a long video already and you've probably switched off halfway through. And if you got this far, that's great. Well done. But I really think that we should all be very, very worried as pagans, as believers in any faith or religion that is not Christianity. They want to take us backwards in time. The witchcraft laws were repealed in 1951. And it would seem that he would want to put them back and make witchcraft illegal. Don't let that happen. Stevie Nicks says, don't let them take your power. Blessed be.